To me, I would definitely say it has a lot more to do with.
So today we're here with Denzel Parris of the Denzel Parris International. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your background?
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, a few years ago, I moved here for university from the beautiful island of St. Lucia. That's really where my family's from. As the son of diplomats, I was exposed to a lot of different situations and affairs, more affluent affairs, which is kind of where I started developing my eye and taste for design and style. Believe it or not, I actually was a pretty committed athlete before all of this. Like, my goal was to run Olympic track, play basketball at a high level, all of that good stuff, really focused on that. While I was doing that, I was always just designing for fun in the locker room, at home, etc., on my free time. And then once I moved over here to go to university, the plan was to continue to get my undergraduates in business and move on to corporate law. But during that time, I entered like 1 or 2 competitions, made good relationships with key people, and it kind of just went from there.
We already know what's your brand name, it's Denzel Parris. Can you explain a little bit more about the product that you want to create, that you have already created some of the pieces?
Well, the slogan that I like to go by is "For a Lady." And the reason I chose to focus on that is because I'm very interested in femininity. I like highlighting that when it comes to fashion, but I like to include functionality. So it's not just making a beautiful garment, but something that the modern day woman or lady can use, whether she's in the boardroom, sidewalk, a gala, wherever it is. I want to make sure I bring that functionality, but focusing on distinct silhouettes. So something that someone can easily recognize or they haven't seen for the first time. That's usually what I look at when I look at other pieces or look at something coming down a runway. So I just want to bring those worlds together.
Why did you start the brand? How did you come up with the idea of having your own label?
It has a lot to do with my upbringing, a lot to do with my entrepreneurial spirit, and just the fact that I like creating, I like designing. I always saw beautiful pieces, but most of the time, this may sound bad, but I was always hypercritical. And I would start to think of how I would have used that, where I would have added, where I would have raised the hem or lowered it, or maybe I wouldn't have used that fabric or that much of that fabric. And that overall just evolved into me doing my own thing on paper.
How much time have you spent on starting and planning for this label?
Planning.
Yes.
That word, planning. In the beginning, I was doing a lot more doing than planning, just trying to get in and kind of see how this works. But that actually led me to realizing how important the planning was, because that's something I didn't really grasp in the beginning. I thought just make pretty clothes, try and sell it, get it on people. I mean, while that is pretty much what we do, it's important. There's a lot that has to be done before you even get to that level. I would say now in the past couple months, that's where I've started planning aggressively to make moves for the next spring-summer season.
What was the biggest struggle for you to take that first step towards creating your label?
I would easily say starting. And I know a while ago I said I just used to do a lot more doing, but before I even got to that point, I thought that everything had to be perfect and lined up perfectly before I can actually make a step forward and try and present something to someone. And I think a lot of creatives can attest for that, is getting out of your own way, getting out of your own head and going for it. So I would definitely say the biggest struggle in the beginning was beginning.
Do you think that a budget, the money situation, is a real problem for the fashion industry, or do you think it's like another obstacle that any business has to overcome?
I would say a little bit of both. I mean, in the fashion industry, money is an absolute necessity. I mean, like what we do, it's an expensive profession to get into, to be a part of. But at the same time, a designer, especially a self-taught designer, you're a businessman or a businesswoman, so that's just the nature of the game. That's just another obstacle you have to overcome. So if the money is what you're worried about, you're never going to get started. But at the same time, you can't ignore the fact that money is necessary to execute properly. So it's a delicate balance. It is a hurdle, but it's just one of the many hurdles that you're going to overcome. Because once you do get that money, there will be more things after that.
Do you think that a business plan is something that will help a fashion designer to overcome the money problem?
I would say absolutely. I mean, myself about a year, 2 years ago, I would have said, no, that's not, just design and get it out there. But like I said, the more you get in and you start working with other professionals and you look at the bottom line and then you start holding yourself accountable, you do realize you need some kind of a track record to keep you on track to get to where you're trying to go, and that's where a business plan comes in, especially if you're a new designer. Yeah, I'm trying to get everything off the ground.
How do you feel about the business plan that we have drafted up until now? How do you feel about the work that we have been doing together on that?
So far, I mean, I can't say anything anything less than excellent, because I mean, I wouldn't be at this stage if it wasn't for the planning, which I've been doing with Moda Labs, and the structure of the business plan. So I'm confident. That's the best adjective that I could use right now, confident. Apart from confident, I would definitely say relaxed and optimistic.
What should people feel about your product?
Something different, that's what I kind of pride myself in as a designer is, this is pretty, but this is also different, so we haven't seen it before.
Yeah.
But to underline that, I would want to say I would definitely want a client of mine to feel feminine. That's ideally what people come to me for femininity, to feel that, to highlight it as much as possible.
What are the core values of Denzel Parris International?
I feel like I'm repeating the word femininity, but that's number one. Distinction. And I say distinction because, going back to what we were saying earlier, I do like the fact that being different. So that's really where we focus on the silhouettes and not just how well they're crafted, which is obviously a core value of the brand, but how they come together on a woman's body, how they accentuate different parts, how they make that woman feel. So all of those married together, I would say, are the core values of the brand in general, the feeling behind it.
Why did you choose Moda Lab to work with you on this brand? And very important project of yours.
Very, very important. I mean, after meeting with you and Alex, because I mean, I've been in Miami for a little while and I've been trying to find the right partners to work with to bring the vision. And the most important to me is quality. And what I've been providing for clients by myself, I think I finally find with someone who can provide it on a higher level to a wider audience. So I would definitely say it's the quality. That's what I'm looking for, and that's what Moda Lab has been able to deliver. When you look at something of mine, the best compliment for me is for somebody to say, I've never seen that before, but I could wear that.